Hello and welcome. Hopefully that means I'm live. I think it's just said go, so I never quite know. But anyway, welcome, folks. I apologise for being a lot later than usual today, but husband had an appointment that we had to go to, so I ended up having to take. Well, I was going to take him anyway, to be honest. So he's going in for a knee replacement in a couple of weeks' time. So this was the pre-assessment visit, pre-op assessment. So it was important we went. And it was at 12:30, and I'm glad I put this right back because we've only just got home, but we did get home in time. So apologies for having to change today, but that's how it goes, So we will get on. What I'm doing today is I am going to make what I've called a double gatefold card. And the reason for that is it is the Tech for Stampers blog hop, T4S blog hop today. And it is the theme for today's blog hop is fancy folds. Now, you all know I adore a fun fold. So when I saw this one, I simply had to make it. And I caught this one from an American demonstrator, so it was all in inches. So I've had to fiddle around and work out what the centimetres are. But I have done that, and I'm going to show you how I did it as well. It looks quite complicated because there's quite a lot of pieces, but actually it really is quite simple. So without further ado, let me just get me chat up so I know who's there. So if you are there, please say hello and let me know where you're from. I'm just going to swap to my desk view so you can see all the bits. So it does look quite complicated. There is quite a lot of bits. I've got my list here because, quite frankly, I'd never remember all these measurements. Do not panic because all will be revealed in the instructions, and the blog will be live from 6 o'clock today. That's when the blog hops go live. So what do we need? I've actually laid these out, and that's probably not a good idea because I actually need to show you some of the other pieces as well. So for the base card, we need, I've chosen Old Olive and Daffodil Delight because I've used, for my DSP, I've used the gorgeous Floral Delight paper DSPs. So that's why I've chosen these colours to match with the paper. So the main card base, this is 24 centimetres by 14.8. Or if you are working with US size cardstock, it's 9.5 inches by 5.5 inches. Then we also need a card base for the inner card. Let me just move those to one side so you can see that bit too. So this bit for the inside card, the inner gatefold card, this piece is 8 centimetres tall. It's 28 centimetres long, so nearly the length of A4. So you can get both of these out of one sheet of A4, which is good. Then you need all sorts of layers. Now, I've done layers. If you didn't want to, you could just do one single layer of DSP if you wanted, but I wanted to have a border of my Daffodil Delight. So for those, first of all, for the middle of this bit here, which is one large panel of both of the, of Daffodil Delight, and it's going to have DSP on top. So this panel here, this is 10.6 by 40, 10.6 across, 14.4 down. And in inches, that is 4.125 inches by 5 3/8 inches. And then you also need a bit for each panel at the side here. You actually need 4 of these because there's 2 side panels inside and 2 outside. So you need 4 pieces of this. And these are 5.1 centimetres by 14.4 centimetres, or 2 inches by 5 3/8 inches. And then you have the DSP. So for this main piece in the middle, this piece of DSP is 10.2 by 14, or 4 by 5.25. And the side panel bits, these are 4.7 centimetres wide by 14 tall. And I've got 2 of those, and I've matched those for the inside of the card. And then I've got 2 further panels the same size, so those are 4.7 by 14 for the outside to go with those mats. Then the mats for the inside card, the way I've done this, the one I saw from the US had all the panels the same size. I've made my center panel just a fraction bigger because I found it folded together better. So that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. So the center one here, this one is 5.6 by 7.6. And all the rest of these small panels, these Daffodil Delight panels, for all of the other panels, are 5.1 by 7.6. And then the DSP, no, not DSP at all. The basic white for the center panel is 5.2 by 7.2. And then I have chosen to have 2 side panels, both with basic white, but you could do all 4 in DSP if you prefer. So that's another option for you, putting DSP on all of those 4. And all of these panels, and you can choose whether they're DSP or basic white, they are 4.7 by 7.2. 4.7 centimeters, 7.2 centimeters in inches. That's 1 7/8 inches by 2 3/4. Then you also need a scrap for a sentiment on the front, and any other decoration you want. You might want other scraps. But let's get on with actually making the card. Now, I have actually done the, let's put these to one side now without getting them too lost. I have actually already done the scoring, but if I show you what, oh, no, first of all, I'm going to show you this, because this is my very scrappy. What I do is, when I see a card from an American demonstrator that I really like, I actually cut it out in some scrap card of their size and then try and work it out and fiddle with it and scribble on it as to what we actually needed to do for the other side. So you can see here, this I did as, I think I did it as originally, yeah, too small. I think I did it originally at about 6 centimeters, which equated to the inch measurements, or roughly. I decided that was too small. I decided I needed to make it 8 centimeters wide. And then I worked out what side all the panels ought to be for each of those. And that's how I work it out. So basically the card goes together like that and will open, because it'll stick together. So you've got this sort of gatefold in the middle and the gatefold on the outside. So that's how I work it all out, all scribbled on, but it gives me the measurements I need, which is always important. So while we do this, by the way, I am actually going to be taking some pictures, because I have forgotten to take any pictures of making this card, and I think I need them for my blog. So if you'll excuse me every so often, I am actually going to come in and just take, I might have to stand up actually, to take a picture of all that stuff on my desk. There we go, that'll do for that one. So I will be doing that. Okay, so let's start putting it together. So the first thing to do is to do the scoring, and for this, I have actually already scored it, but I do need to do some additional scoring. Let me just move that to the side as well. And for the scoring here, you're going to first of all score it at a centimetre. So what I do is I always would turn the card over and do it sort of on this side, on the right hand side of the trimmer, because it's much easier to keep this solid against the block here where it needs to be straight and measure a centimetre that way than it is to try and measure our centimetres this way, which would be our normal way. It's just harder, and it's easier to twist the card and get it not straight. So I would measure the 1 centimetre on the right hand side, then I turn it round, and the next measurement is 6.5 centimetres. So 6.5 and another score line there. And then you're going to turn it round and do exactly the same thing from the other side. So rather than measure all the way across, I actually worked out that it's much easier to score from each end. So 1 centimetre and 6.5 centimetres from each end. And then you fold the first fold, that big fold, in as a normal gate fold, and these other 2 bits actually are going to fold backwards, because they're actually going to support the inside card. So what we're going to do now is get a pencil and a ruler and measure down on these little tabs. We're going to measure down 3.8. So that's just there. So we're looking at the little markings on the ruler here, 3.8 on each outer corner, or 1 3/4 inches if you're working in inches. So 3.8, which is there. And we do that on all 4 bits, all 4 edges, if you like, of these little tiny panels. So 3.8 is there, 3.8 from this end is there. And then we get the snips, which I seem to have lost. Where are my snips? There they are. And so we're going to cut this out, and I'm going to angle very slightly the first cut in. So I'm cutting in at an angle and then cutting off this end piece here. I'm going to do that on all 4 of the tabs. So you can see why I've saved some time by doing some of this before, because it does take it is a little bit fiddly to do all of these folds and cutting. There we go. So that is what your base card here now should look like. So again, I am just going to take a quick photo of that, if you don't mind. Sorry about this, but I haven't been organised because, you know, husband's doing things and God knows what. So there we go. So that is the base card put together, and now we can put all the mats on this base card, and then that is basically finished. So talk among yourselves. You can let me know where you're from and who's watching today. I haven't seen anything in the chat yet, but I have seen there are a couple of people watching, which is lovely. So I do like to know where people are from. I don't know if any of my usuals are here because I've had to change the time, which is a bit sad, but needs must today. This is gorgeous paper, by the way, this Floral Delight. I think it's gone into the clearance sale. Certainly the suite has. So I presume the paper and everything might have done as well, but it's just gorgeous paper. I don't think that's got an up or a down. I think that side, which is the one I want to use, can be either way up, so that's fine. And we'll put the side panels on as well. So as I said, you don't need to have a layer if you just wanted to have the one layer, but I do find it just makes oh dear, get that all over there. We just find a cloth and wipe that up before I get it stuck up on everything else. There we go. So yeah, I do like layers on cards. I do think it does make it look just that bit, I don't know, just a little bit more posh. I don't know if it's not quite the right word, but you know what I mean. I think it just makes it look better. Do like a layer on a card. I actually quite like lots of layers on cards, but there we go. So that's that one, and then finally this one for the other side. And just make sure you're putting the glue on the back bit of the card. There is a front and a back when you cut card, because if you look at the cut closely, there's sort of an edge, and the edge should be at the back. Now, if you get it the wrong way around, do not panic, because you can just use your what's it called? Bone folder. I can't think straight. The bone folder, you can use the bone folder just to squash those bits straight if you need to. But yeah. So I always cut the card from the front, if you like, so that I get any of those little bits, the sticking out bits, go on the back, and then it's not a problem. So that's got my inside card done. I'm going to turn it over and put the two side panels on now. Don't need a panel on the back. If you wanted more space, I'll show you how much space there is to write as we put the card together. And if you need more space, you can always put something on the back of the card there to write if you've got longer messages or want to put a bigger sentiment on or something like that, then you can use that part of the card. So I'm just going to put these side panels on, and I've chosen a different DSP for it's the same DSP, it's the same pack, but it's a different pattern of DSP for these front panels, and I've chosen the same DSP to put on the smaller inside gate card panel, because I think, as you'll see when I put it together, it looks better if those two are the same type of DSP. So I'll just put these other panels on. Like that. There we go. And this final one. So for the inside panels, it doesn't matter whether they're up or down, but this type of DSP, this pattern of DSP, definitely has an up and a down. So I do need to make sure I'm going to keep this the right way up. So now I've got the top to my left as I'm putting this on there. So that is the top of the card. So I want to make sure the panel there stays like that. So that is my panels put together. Let me just, again, quick photo of that. There we go. We're going to have to work quite quickly to get the photos in the right place. So that is the base of the gatefold card. And of course, the gatefold card is just beautiful anyway. And you can make just an ordinary one like that but this double gatefold card just acts a little bit of magic. So we're going to do some stamping on these panels here. And my bigger center panel, I am going to do some more. Oh, I forgot to give you the sizes of this and yes, let me just give you all the measurements you need for this. So for this panel, where are we? Yeah, so we scored this one at 5.5 and 11 centimeters from both ends again. And that actually leaves the center panel just that fraction bigger. And I found, because it's going to fold together like this and then open, I found that was better. When I did them all the same size, I found it got a little bit clunky and a little bit stuck when you were opening it. So this, to me, feels better and I think works better. So, but up to you, you can try different things. So for the stamping today, the stamps I'm going to use, I'm actually giving you a little bit of a sneak peek because this is one of the sets from the new catalogue, Gallery Blooms. It's absolutely gorgeous, these beautiful floral images. And the reason I loved it so much is the set of dies that come with it. Obviously, you've got dies that cut out the flowers. You've also got additional leaf dies and additional flower dies, but you've also got these frames. And very quickly yesterday, I made a card just to show you what the frames look like. And they cut out 2 frames at once. So I did 2 lots of colour. I did one in copper clay and one in boho blue. So I've got the reverse frames, if you like, to use on another card still. And then I just used one of these are the leaf dies from the set, and that is one of the stamps. But it's a lovely set. So that is Gallery Blooms. And I've actually used that to stamp and colour a little flower for the front. But for the rest of it, I am actually going to use layering leaves. So I'm going to use that sentiment inside, and I'm going to use the leaves here on the outside. So I've got these stamps ready. They're not going to fall off. There we go. And I don't want to use pure black, to be honest, for this, because to me it's just not quite right. So I am actually going to use a Memento grey. It's called grey flannel, which is what I often use if I don't want anything to be completely black. So that's what I'm going to use for the sentiment in the middle, because I think the grey looks a little bit better. So I'm having my sentiment here. And this is what I mean about if you want a little bit more room, because obviously that particular sentiment has nearly filled the here. So if I wanted a bit more room to write on, then I can actually do that, put that in the put that on the back of the card. But I'm going to leave it like that because all I'd want to say is Love Carol or something like that. I'm also going to stamp in the grey flannel the sentiment for the front. I've used the Best Wishes from that set. Oh, that's a bit tight. Perhaps I need a bigger piece of card. Let's try that piece. That's better. There we go. Bit of scrap card. So I've just stamped that. I will be cutting that out in a bit. I'll just clean those stamps. And then to decorate the other 2 panels, let me just put this away. I'm actually using this lovely dotted stamp here, which makes a lovely background and really does fit with my DSP, because if you look on my DSP, I've got the blue dots on the background. So I'm going to repeat that on my card here in Pool Party, which is the colour that obviously, you know, on the back of the DSP, they tell you what colours are in it, which is so useful. So I'm going to have just a couple of splodges of this. Where's my other piece that I've lost now? There's another piece of white somewhere. There it is. And this one I'll do it the other way around because they're going to match across. And I'm also going to add a little bit just around the So Happy to Celebrate You. There we go. So that is that bit done. And then to decorate these, I'm actually going to, I've done them the same, haven't I? Never mind, it's fine. So I'm going to use Old Olive to match my cardstock for the leaves. Stick on stamp, there we go. So I'm going to stamp just a couple of leaves, one full and one stamped off. And the same here, one full, oops, and one stamped off. Do the stamped off before you ink it again. There we go. So I've just got a nice little pattern panel, which just makes a change from the DSP to go on the sides here, which I rather like. And then I have got, and I just need a scrap of paper here, because I am going to make sure that's inked up, stamp off, and then fill in the leaves on the front one, like that. So stamp off, and then fill in the leaves. Slide it up. There we go. But I'm not going to fill in the back one. I could. Let me see what it looks like, because I could fill it in again without re-inking. That looks quite nice actually, so perhaps I'll do that again. So if I stamp that off twice, then I can fill this one in too. There we go. Yeah, that looks all right. So there is my stamping done. Get rid of my ink pad before I manage to lean in it as usual. And then we can start putting all of these bits together. So I've got my bigger center panel I'm going to do first. And you'll see in a minute that it's so important to have two sides of basic white, because I started to make another of these and managed to get it completely wrong. And you'll see how in just a second. So popping that one in the center, and then this can go on the top. So, oh look, I used the other one, and then I realized I'd stamped, instead of the two side ones, I'd stamped this one on the center, which is just really stupid. And it was the big one. It's the one that's supposed to have the sentiment on and leave a little bit of room for writing. So that was that one. Happy accidents. It's fine. Then I can put all of the other panels on. So at either side of the center panel, I am going to place my stamped panels. So again, this was the other one I did, but changed my mind anyway about using that particular stamp. It's one of the new Valerie Blooms ones, but I decided I'd just have leaves. I think it matches the back panel here better. Which way is that being cut? I don't think it matters too much. So there's a lot of gluing of panels on this, but hey, it makes it look good. There we go. And then this panel as well. And then finally the two side panels. Get that the right way up. Did I give you all the sizes for these? I think I did. If not, they will all be on the blog, which, as I say, will be published at, oh, that's better, will be published, there's another bit of DSP there, will be published at 6 o'clock tonight. We say a particular time so that everybody's blog goes live at the same time, and there'll be some fancy folds made by my fellow demos as well, so you can see those. I think it's probably that way up. And then the final one for this end. Beautiful, this Floral Designs paper. I just love it. Might have to get some more before it all vanishes. Okay, there we go. As I said, do let me know where you're from, because I would like to know. So this is now going to stick in here, and the important thing is to get it in the middle. So I am going to actually do a little bit of measuring, and I'm going to just mark in the center, because I know that panel is 11 wide, so get that up. So half of 11 is 5.5. So I just put a little mark there. So I'm just putting the one mark there. I just want to make sure that this is going to sit centrally here, because we are going to put some glue just on the back of the middle panel, and only the middle panel. So that is important. So just on that center panel, you want to put the glue. Let me just take another picture of that, actually. Keep forgetting to take pictures of things. So, whoops, need to stand up again. This seems to be very close for some reason. I don't know why. Okay, so glue on that center panel only. And then I'm going to actually fold it together so that I've got more control. and I've got my center mark there. So I want it to sit just about in the middle here. So same button, but you can, if you wanted to, you can measure the top and the bottom as well. Make sure it's straight. The beauty of Tombow, that I can move it around and make sure it's straight before we finally stick it down. There we go. So you can start to see now how this works. So the final bit is to stick the tabs. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the tab that we created, and then fold that piece down on top. Just hold it for a second to make sure it actually sticks down properly. There we go. And then I'm going to do exactly the same on this side. So make sure you've folded the tab backwards, so it's really folded back there, and then we're going to put the glue on it. And then fold this down on top. Now let me just try, can I take a picture of that? Probably not. I need to hold that down. There we go. To try and just take a picture of that so that I can show people how that should work. So I've got my glue on there. Make sure it's folded back. Just fold down my side panel onto it. Hold it for a second or two. Want to make sure that sticks properly. Don't want that to move around. I'll put my glue away now. Actually, I will need it again in a minute. And there is the double gatefold. So can you see how it works? So you've got gatefold one side, gatefold the other. It is quite a bulky card. That's all I'd say. If you have a look at it, try and get it in the camera properly there. It is fairly bulky. It's got a lot of layers by the time you've got them all on. But isn't it a wow card? It's just lovely. So I really like that. Thanks very much to the US demo that showed me that. And then just to finish it off, I'm going to stick this on here, but very carefully, only sticking it to this one front panel here. So I just need a little bit of glue on this side of it, not on the other. That's going to be my front. Doesn't matter which side is your front, you can choose, but that's going to be my front. So again, I'm just going to hold that down. That gives me that picture, and then finally I am going to, shall I punch this or cut around it? Can't decide. What punches have I got that might look nice with this? Let's see. What do you think? Anybody got any ideas? What punch shall I use for this? I'm running out of ideas here. What punches have I got that would look nice? Let's just try this one. I think this is a lasting label. I think this would work. Let's see if it's got enough room. And whether I've got enough card. Oh, I have. I'm just going to chop the bottom off there because it'll just go in that little bit further into my punch. Yeah, quite like that. We'll see if it's not too big to go in here. And I'm also going to, yeah, I know what I'm going to do. I am going to grab my blends. This is a little idea for you, and it's a nice thing to do, which is if you don't want to put a whole mat on something, then you can get an edge just by running a blend around it. So I've chosen my Daffodil Delight. This is actually the dark Daffodil Delight, but that's fine. And I can just gently rub the brush tip around the side of my piece. If I come out of shot there. So just rubbing the brush tip around the edge, and it just gives it an edge of colour. Like that. So I haven't got a mat on there, but I have got some colour on it. I could put it on a mat. I might just get some old olive and put it on there. Let me just go and grab a bit of old olive from my stash over here. So I keep all my odd bits because I often need an odd bit to cut something out of. I'm going to cut the same shape out of old olive. Back in. There we go. And then, as you know, it's exactly the same shape as this. So how do you say, does this make a little an edge? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use my scissors, my big scissors. I'm just going to chop off the top and the bottom. And the reason I'm not chopping it just in half is that you would see the bits at the side, which I don't want to show. So I'm chopping the middle bit out. They're not entirely even, it doesn't matter. And then I can use a little bit of glue just on here and on here, just on the edges. And then I can place my outlined sentiment so that it just has a little bit of green around that edge. And then same with the top. Slide it in. So I've got a little bit of green around the top edge as well. There we go. Oops, try and make sure that's straight. Not bad. There we go. And if you can see little bits of green sticking out, I can just trim them off. Just to tidy that up. I'm being very fussy now, but sometimes it's good to be a little bit fussy. Those are just peeping out. So there we have my outlined in Daffodil Delight and then laid on that mat of old olive for my sentiment here. It's actually quite big for this card, but it'll do. And I'm going to stick that again just up in this top corner. So what I'm actually going to do is, I'm just going to use some glue on the top of here. I'm going to say I could put it on with dimensionals, but I really don't want any more layer on this card because frankly, there's more than enough. So I'm going to stick it here. So it just sticks to the front panel of the card, but we've got the same pattern of colours on it by doing that outline. It just saves me a layer of card there by doing the outline in the Stampin' Blend. And there we have it. So there is my double gatefold card. Obviously, do not forget to decorate your envelope. I'm going to use my leaves, I think, on my envelope as well, like I have done on those inside panels, so that we can get some sort of continuity going. And I hope you really like that card. And just to finish it off, I am going to grab my Wink of Stella. I can find it. And just make those flowers pop a little bit more. I'm going to add some Wink of Stella to it. Oh. Just to add a little bit of sparkle in the middle of the flowers here, because I don't really want to put any gems on because they will add depth I don't want. But a little bit of sparkle like that is going to just give it a little something. Don't know if you can see it. I can see it, but I don't know whether the camera is picking that up at all. So that is my double gatefold card. I hope you like it, and I hope you have a go at making one. As I said, don't forget to decorate your envelope as well. And if you wanted more space to write on, you could leave one of these panels blank, or because it will lie flat because of the way we put it together, so it's easy to write on. But if you wanted a bigger space, didn't want to use those panels, then you could always put a panel on the back to write on if you wanted. So I hope you like my card. I hope you have a go at making one, because it's a lot easier than you think once you've got your head around all the different bits you need. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm sorry we didn't get any chat. I don't know, perhaps it's not working today or something, but it's lovely. Thank you for joining me anyway. And anybody who's watching it afterwards, then yes, please do let me know what you think of the card, and I hope you have a go at it. Thanks very much for joining me today, and I will see you again soon. Next week, we will be back at the usual time at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday for my live. And do go to my blog at craftycarolscards.co.uk at 6 o'clock. This one will be published along with those of my colleagues from Tech for Stampers, and there is plenty more to look at in the blog. I've got a very exciting project for next week as well. So do keep in contact with me, and I will see you again very soon. Thanks for joining me today. Bye for now.